everybody. It's your old pal Jazz McKay, the deplorable patriot. And, back in 1989, I had been in the radio business doing mostly morning radio on rock and roll radio stations. And I'd kind of become disillusioned with, the whole radio thing. I'd gotten into the business as a stepping stone to some other things that I wanted to do. And that never panned out. So I was kind of bummed, and I quit my job. And I moved back home to Houston, Texas, and was sort of trying to figure out what to do next. And I ended up talking to an old high school buddy of mine on the phone one night, and he asked me if I'd heard this guy on the radio. He says, "You got to hear this dude. He is hysterical. Really funny show. Great show." He said, "He can't be for real. It's got to be an act, but you really need to listen to this dude." And I did. I'll tell you about that right after this.
Before we go any further, please subscribe to my channel, like and share this video, and be sure and visit my website, thedeplorablepatriot.com. I'll leave a link in the comments below.
Yeah, so it's 1989. I'd been in the radio business for about 10 years. I was doing mostly morning shows on rock and roll radio stations. And as I had mentioned, I really got into the business as a stepping stone to some other things I wanted to do, and they never really worked out. So I had quit my job and was living in Houston. A buddy of mine that I'd known since high school suggested that I listen to this new fella that was on the radio. I think it was KPRC at that time. And he said, "Yeah, you got to listen to this dude. He is great. He's really funny, and maybe you'll find some inspiration." And I said, "Well, all right, I guess I'll check him out." And I don't think I did right away, but once I did, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was the best radio that I had ever heard, to be perfectly honest with you. Never heard anything quite like it. And I called my friend up and I said, I've been listening to this guy. His name was Rush Limbaugh, as you probably figured out. And I said, I've been listening to this guy for the past couple of days. And I said, I'll tell you the truth. This guy's, you don't think he's real. I'm telling you right now, he is. This guy, Rush Limbaugh, is for real. But what he's doing in the format of talk radio, which I was just sort of experimenting with some talk radio in my last job, where I was supposed to be a morning disc jockey playing 6 songs an hour. I was lucky to get in about 2 or 3 songs in an hour's time. In those days, I was on a classic rock radio station in Lansing, Michigan called WMMQ, and actually my boss at that time had said, "You know what you really need to do if you want to do talk radio, just go do talk radio." Well, I'd gotten out of the business, like I said. I was working actually at that time in Houston in 1989, 1990, was working in nightclubs doing what I had, the only other thing that I really knew how to do, which was club jocking, right? And but my friend said, listen to this fella. I did. I heard Rush Limbaugh for the first time in 1989, and I was hooked. Now, to say that Rush Limbaugh changed my life would actually be an understatement, because he really did. He gave me an interest in radio again that I had not, that I didn't think I could. I'd listen to this guy doing these comedy bits, but at the same time talking about serious political issues, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and it made me suddenly want to do radio again. I really wanted to do radio again as a result of listening to Rush. And if I hadn't heard this guy at that time, all right, when I think that I really needed that sort of inspiration, I don't know what would have happened with my life. But long story short, I was able to get back into radio. Is a weird business, because once you get out of it, it's really hard to go back. It took me a good 6 or 8 months to find a job to get back into the daily grind of doing a radio show. I basically started back out where I had left off, doing morning rock and roll radio programs, and just continued doing that, and kind of taking all the lessons that I had learned from Rush, and that I was learning from Rush too, because it's important to know that that listening to Rush was a daily learning experience. Now, unlike a lot of folks out there who credit Rush with teaching them about conservatism, which, I was getting all of that from listening to his show. I was also picking up all the little nuanced things that he was doing technically as a radio show host and applying them to what I was doing on the air. And I think if I had to pick out one thing that inspired me the most about what Rush was doing, it was his ability to use sarcasm to get a point across. And in fact, there's a clip that I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's from his old television show, and it really illustrates what I'm referring to. I tell you what, let's watch that right now.
Because I'm wearing these ribbons, I care more than any of you about anything. And these ribbons say so. I want you people sitting at home and you people in the audience, look down at your lapel right now. I want you to do this. Put the camera back on me. Do this. When you look down, what do you see? You don't see anything because you're not wearing any ribbons. It means you're a bigot. It means you're a racist. It means you're a sexist. It means you're a homophobe. It probably means you're a white guy. It probably means you're a European. And you alone are responsible for all the ills of America. But I'm not, because I'm wearing these ribbons. I care more than you.
I mean, that's classic Limbaugh right there. Using humor to illustrate the absurdity of life, being absurd, saying absurd things to illustrate absurdity. And nobody did it better than Rush Limbaugh. I picked up a lot of that from listening to Rush. I applied it. I didn't steal his bits. I didn't steal his material, but I applied that style of doing radio to what I was doing and refined it and worked on it over a period of years, eventually moved from doing music radio to where I really wanted to be, doing talk radio, starting out in Miami at WIOD, in Miami, and WWWE in Cleveland, Ohio, and just literally all over the place, KMJ in Fresno, and a lot of the places that I've worked doing talk radio until my recent retirement. And but I every day at 9 o'clock Pacific time, I'd be right here, in front of my computer here and with the radio on, and listen to Rush Limbaugh. And when he made the announcement last year that he had cancer, I knew that it was only a matter of time. We got kind of used, I think a lot of us ditto heads got kind of used to hearing the fill-in hosts. So, Rush has its treatment week. Rush is undergoing chemo, and we knew, all of us, that there were going to be times we weren't going to hear him. The other day, actually it's interesting because he'd gone for about 2.5 weeks without being on the air. My wife asked me, this was on a week ago today, actually, last Tuesday. Tuesday night, she says to me, do you think Rush is ever coming back? And I told her, I said, oh, of course, yeah, I'm sure he'll be back on the air anytime, any day now. He just, he needs a little bit more time to recover from these chemo treatments. Little did I know what I would hear at 9 a.m. California time the next morning. I was listening to Glenn Beck, as I do every day, and 9 o'clock comes around, top of the hour news comes on, our local affiliate for the EIB here in Bakersfield, and the news plays, right, and comes out, and I hear that music, that familiar theme song of expecting to hear Mark Stein, expecting to hear Todd Herman or Mark Belling, perhaps, filling in. Instead, I heard Catherine, Rush's wife.
Hello, everyone. I know that I am most certainly not the Limbaugh that you tuned in to listen to today. I, like you, very much wish Rush was behind this golden microphone right now, welcoming you to another exceptional 3 hours of broadcasting. It is with profound sadness I must share with you directly that our beloved Rush, my wonderful husband, passed away this morning due to complications from lung cancer.
My heart sank. And I knew he was gone. And at that moment, I guess it's something that we all knew was coming. But at least for me, I'd stored it away in what I call my denial file in my mind for the past year. Not wanting to face that reality of the inevitable. I went about my daily routine over the course of the past year since at least since I got the news of his cancer, which was about around the same time last year. And I think for a lot of us, we just sort of assumed that he would always be there for us, That at noon Eastern time, 9 o'clock, my time out here in California, we would always hear that opening bass line of the Pretenders' My City Is Gone. And be greeted by that voice of reason and reassurance as he would tell us that we had nothing to panic over until he told us, that it was time to panic. But in the back of all of our minds, we knew that day would come, and sadly, it did.
Rush was an extraordinary man, a gentle giant, brilliant, quick-witted, genuinely kind, extremely generous, passionate, courageous, and the hardest working person I know. From today on, there will be a tremendous void in our lives and, of course, on the radio. Rush loved our miraculous country beyond measure, an unwavering patriot. He loved our United States military, our flag, our Constitution, our founding fathers. He proudly fought and defended conservative values in a way that no one else can. Rush often stood up and took arrows on his own because he knew it was the right thing to do. Rush encouraged so many of us to think for ourselves, to learn, and to lead. He often said it did not matter where you started or what you look like. As Americans, we all have endless opportunities like nowhere else in the world. Rush gave us hope that through hard work and determination, we can overcome the obstacles in our lives and be our best. I know all of you listening are terribly sad. We all are. I'm terribly sorry to have to deliver this news to you. God bless you, Rush, and God bless our country.
Rush Limbaugh, the monumentally influential icon who had transformed talk radio and politics from behind the Golden EIB microphone, helping shape and educate conservatives, was dead at 70 years old after a years-long battle with lung cancer. And the program that had begun 33 years ago, at least on a national scale, let's not forget that Rush had been on the air for 20 years before he got the big break to go national. He started out with 56 radio stations back in 1988, and he grew to be the most listened to radio show host in all of the United States. He aired on more than 600 radio stations and had some 28 million people who tuned in every week. Ditto heads. That's what we called ourselves. I was a ditto head. I always will be. I think one of the things that, I mentioned how Limbaugh inspired me in a lot of ways professionally. But I had so much in common with him. How could I not be inspired by the man? He loved what he did for a living, just like I did. And it was so evident that he had a love and a passion for his job because he was there. He was there as often as he could be, for this past year, if you've ever dealt with chemotherapy or a family member or friend who's had to deal with chemotherapy, you know how hard it is to function normally. And as often as he could, he was there behind that microphone. He wanted more than anything else. He wanted to be in front of that Golden EIB microphone every single day it was humanly possible for him for 3 hours to spend that time with us, his devoted listeners. And one of the things I'd like to say about Rush is that unlike what some liberals might believe, Rush did not tell us what to think. As listeners, Rush taught us how to think for ourselves, actually, and how to process things. And over a period of time, over the many years that I spent listening to him, one of the things that I really got a kick out of was because I'm immersed in politics, all right? And I might be sitting watching the news the night before, and something will occur to me. And I'll think to myself, yeah, you know what, this and that. I'll put two and two together and get four. And the next morning, listening to Rush Limbaugh, I would hear him articulate exactly what I had thought the night before. He taught us how to think critically. He taught us how to think. He didn't tell us what to think. And Rush wasn't afraid to actually take liberals on, to actually do a little verbal sparring, if you will, on his show by taking calls from liberals.
All right, Fred in St. Louis, you're next. It's great to have you on the program, Fred. How you doing?
I'm fine. Rush, let's just take a look at the 2% of the time where you're completely and utterly wrong. Your hypocrisy is kind of amazing. You're so upset. And I sense even scared that this investigation is taking place. You're kind of scared as to what they might find, and it's just starting. It may be going on for a couple of months, but the investigation is just starting. You weren't upset when Clinton was being investigated for the Benghazi incident. You wanted a full investigation for that, didn't you?
Yeah, there's all kinds of evidence there that she had been derelict in her duty. Four people died in Benghazi. Because is this the best you've got to sit here and claim that I was interested in getting to the truth about Benghazi, where 4 Americans died because of the incompetence and laziness of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who was off the grid during the whole time? We couldn't even find him. And you think because I wanted to get to the bottom of that, I don't want to get to the reason there's no bottom here. Fred, the problem with this is there is no bottom. You just said the investigation just began, and you don't know that. If we've been reading the media, this investigation has been going on since even before Trump was nominated. Comey said today this investigation has been going on since last July. Fred, old buddy, old pal, this is a hell of a long time to have no evidence whatsoever. There's no bottom to get to here. And I'm not scared, Fred. I don't do scared. I am pissed.
One of the things I think that I liked most about listening to Rush Limbaugh was how he would tweak liberals in such a way. He had a way of poking them just a little, just enough that we, all of us listening, we knew they were going to be totally outraged at whatever it was that he said. And we all sort of joined in on the joke, and had a good laugh along with him as he winked at us. And that's another thing. Rush, he really enjoyed what he did. Rush, you could, he had a way of winking over the air, kind of wink at you, let you know he was just kidding around. I mean, you could actually hear this guy wink. I mean, think about that for a minute, will you? That's nothing short of amazing. I'm sure gonna miss that. Rush also was more than just a spokesman for conservative domestic and foreign policies, or Republican politicians, or he was an advocate of free speech. Rush never once in his entire career called for a boycott of the left. He never once called for one single person on the left to be canceled, for instance. I mean, I think he surprised a lot of traditional conservatives by publicly supporting people like Howard Stern or Opie and Anthony when they were under fire, under attack for things that they had said. He was consistent in his beliefs about the First Amendment, and that was one of the many lessons I think that he taught at the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Rush spoke his mind. He refused to apologize for it. He used humor and he used satire to get his point across. And he didn't shy away from his critics in any way, shape, or form. Instead, he used their own words to ridicule and mock them. In the early 90s, when the left dubbed him the most dangerous man in America, rather than back down from that or avoid that phrase or whine and beg for forgiveness, no. Rush Limbaugh embraced that phrase. He turned that term around, used that term himself as a badge of honor by adopting it as his official moniker, the most dangerous man in America. And let me say this for all conservatives out there. We need to be up to the same challenges. And I would encourage all conservatives to follow Rush Limbaugh's lead. First of all, we've got to promote our message, all right? In any way, shape, or form, don't let up. Don't give the left an inch, okay? Get it out. Get the message out to the masses using the same media that the left uses in their attempts to silence us, to cancel us, to shame us. Most importantly, don't back down. Don't give up. It's easy to be discouraged over what happened in November of last year. It's easy to be discouraged losing Rush Limbaugh. But remember, as I've said countless times, MAGA is more than just one man. MAGA is not just Donald Trump. Conservatism is more than just one man. It's not just Rush Limbaugh. Let all of the lessons that you've learned from Rush be your guide. Let him be your inspiration. And let's keep fighting that fight. And to you, Rush Limbaugh, oh my God. Rush, thank you for 33 years of excellence in broadcasting and the many life lessons that we've learned from your deep wisdom and compassion and humility. You made this you made this country a better nation. You were the conservative movement's 5-star general. You educated us, Rush. You taught us what it means to be a conservative and how to fight with grace and passion for what we believe in. And for me personally, I would like to thank Rush Limbaugh for the great influence that you had on my career and showing me how to stand up to those people who would knock me down and attempt to knock me down throughout my 45 years in radio, to never let the critical words or deeds of the opposition intimidate me or to silence my voice as a conservative. You showed me, Rush. You showed me how evil is powerless when the good are fearless. Always be relentless, brave, and bold. And most of all, never let them see you sweat. For those things, Rush Limbaugh, I am forever indebted to you. God bless America and death to the New World Order. I'm Jazz McKay, the deplorable patriot, and I will see you. Well, thanks for watching. Be sure and like this video, subscribe to my channel, share to your social media, and leave nasty comments below. Also, please take the time to visit my website at www.thedeplorablepatriot.com. God bless America and death to the New World Order.